This nice color footage shows a police unit positioned near the Soviet border just before Operation Barbarossa began on June 22, 1941. They are celebrating the momentous occasion. This sensational war diary collection was written by a German non-commissioned officer in the military police named Wolfgang Hagedorn. He served as a Feldgendarmerie, which were most recognizable by the Gorget that they wore around their neck. Here is an officer directing traffic, which was one of their most important duties. A member of troop number 240, they were attached to the 170th Infantry Division of the 11th Army in Army Group South. As part of the National Socialist security apparatus, his candid writings up through May of 1942 in occupied Ukraine give us insight into some of the violent events that took place just behind the front lines. Although controversial, I'll be presenting Wolfgang's writings in the first person, which will provide us with a unique contemporary perspective and therefore deeper understanding of what was going on. Using additional primary historical sources, including situational maps and rare associated film footage, will fit his story into the bigger picture. I don't intend to build empathy for the author, but rather to provide an unbiased view. At the end of the video, I'll show some nice 1941 footage in Berlin of the Day of German Police, so stick around. It's worth it. Wolfgang wrote this report summarizing his service in Russia. He begins by describing the international political situation during the build-up to Barbarossa. As the 170th Infanteriedivision, as the 170th Infantry Division, where I'd been serving since early 1941 as a military police officer, was sent towards Romania, none of us really understood why. The Führer had carefully kept the relationship between the German Reich and the Soviet Union secret. Officially, with the Non-Aggressions Pact that was signed with the Soviets in the summer of 1941, there was no reason to believe that war in the East was imminent. However, everyone suspected that sooner or later a bloody conflict would take place. National Socialism and Bolshevism were like fire and water, and the Russian Bolsheviks had made it clear that they intended to spread their ideology over the entire world. This need for international expansion required that they would eventually penetrate into Western Europe. It was, however, generally hoped that these aggressive, expansionist ideas, much like had happened during the French Revolution, would be simply part of the revolutionary process and not immediately acted upon. It was hoped that the Soviet political energy would focus inwards in the consolidation of their Soviet nation-state. If that could happen in Russia, then, at least for the present, a military collision between the Reich and Russia might be avoided. The political situation of both countries, in fact, seemed to support the hope that a bloody conflict might be avoided. The Reich was engaged in a defensive battle against the West, specifically England. For Russia, it seemed logical that they would focus their desire to expand to the east and southeast towards India and the Persian Gulf, to take over remnants of the dissolving British Empire. However, Hitler's writings in his book Mein Kampf had to be taken into consideration. There he states that the future of German agriculture lies to the east, specifically in the Ukraine. And it's well known that once Hitler comes to a decision, he will keep the course come hell or high water. There was still the hope that this decisive moment could be pushed off into the future. This war diary collection is for sale. If you're interested in finding out about it, contact me at info@military1945.com. These considerations don't give us any indication of what we have to expect in the southeast. So we go without serious worries through the beautiful Elbe sandstone mountains, through Bohemia, passing by the battlefields of past wars, with the name Kolin sticking with me in particular. We continue on through Hungary, and then through the spectacular Carpathian Mountains, finally arriving to Romania. In the city of Bazar, we are dropped off and occupy barracks that seem to have been built especially for us. After a few weeks, we are pushed on to the Romanian border, first to the city of Husai, and then to Jassy. One time, while on duty, I even had the opportunity to spend a few days in Bucharest. There, I was able to get a feel for the Romanian people and their way of life. The cover of this 1941 German police periodical shows an advertisement for the celebrated Day of German Police, which was held on February 15th and 16th. On these days, the police took to the streets, intending to build goodwill with the population and to raise money for the Winter Relief Organization. Before the war, funds raised predominantly went to the needy, but as the situation on the front became critical, an increasing portion went to the military. In addition to accepting monetary donations, items of use, for example, warm weather clothing or skis, were donated and sent to the front. In episode 2 of this series, we'll follow Wolfgang's diary during the first days of war in the East. He describes the reprisal killing of Jewish civilians and then a terrible pogrom that took place afterwards. Open a free account on our website, military1945.com. Patreon supporters get access to exclusive footage that can't be shown here. Thanks for watching.